Coach. How you doing?
All right, how you doing, man? Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Yes, sir.
Man, well, I appreciate you coming to join me and talk to me. Glad to have excellence in the building.
Well, listen,
This your hometown.
it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, 13 state championships.
Yeah.
It's time to talk about it.
All right.
So let's rock. What's up, everybody? This is Coach Love with the ROK Podcast, also known as Recruit Oklahoma. I have with me one of the most prolific high school basketball coaches in Oklahoma history. As head coach, he's won 13 state titles with Millwood High School, which is the most by any basketball coach in Oklahoma history. He's ultimately had a hand in winning 20 state titles as an assistant coach and a head coach together, and he's amassed over 700 wins. He's won the Lifetime Achievement Award. He's been Coach of the Year on multiple occasions. He's been inducted into Oklahoma Basketball Coaches Association Hall of Fame. He has coached and mentored hundreds of next-level athletes. Some of you know him as Coach. Some of you know him as Coach Franklin. Some friends and family may call him Varryl, but I'd venture to say mostly that everybody that knows him calls him the legendary Chop. So I want to welcome to the ROK Podcast the one and only, the legendary Varryl Chop Franklin. How you doing?
I'm doing fine. Great day.
Great day.
Looking forward to this.
Good. I'm glad you take some time out of your day to come visit with me.
Yeah, no problem.
The Millwood Falcons won another state championship.
Yes,
basketball.
and I am so proud of them.
Yeah.
I watched them at the beginning of the year. I didn't follow them as much during the regular season as I usually do, but I kept up with them on TV. And they showed great improvement. Coach did an outstanding job.
Absolutely.
Coach Williams is nice.
Yep.
He's really nice. And I think he's a good fit for this school. And we've been fortunate to have some really, really good coaches after I retired.
Absolutely. Yeah, 'cause you had Coach Jeffries.
Right.
And then Coach Williams. So, yes. So what is that? So is that 18 state titles for basketball?
Yes, sir. It's 18
so-
state titles.
Okay.
Yes.
And it's crazy to think that you have 13 of them.
Yeah. Yes.
You got 13 of them.
Yes, and without the help of those throughout the program, and people think it's easy, but it's a challenge.
No,
yes, and you have to have a lot going for you, from administration through the assistant coaches, certainly the players for sure,
Absolutely.
and parents to go along and support you also. So, and then it takes some divine help too. So.
Yeah, that's always a help.
And I'm
That's always
telling
a
you,
plus.
doesn't it?
Yeah. So I'm originally a John Marshall Bear.
Yes.
Okay. You're originally a Douglas Trojan.
Yes.
Coming out of high school.
Right.
And so tell me how did that happen to where you became a Millwood Falcon as a coach?
I tell you what, it was, that's where when I said divine intervention, that's one of them right there.
Okay.
I really came out, when first thing I did when I came out of college was trying to look for a job. Of course, I'm going to go to Troy Land and ask them, don't have an opening right now.
Right.
We'd love to have you. So I'm searching, and my sister, my baby sister, my youngest sister, went to school here.
Okay.
And she was in school at that time.
Gotcha.
Here at Millwood. And she came home one day and said, Coach Robinson said he needs assistant coaches, an opening up there. I said, well, let me go get it. I need to get some money started. So I came up, and immediately I knew Leotis from Langston days. When we played against him, he was like an assistant coach and a football coach, and so he did some recruiting and that kind of thing, scouting, and so he knew of me, and he hired me right off the bat, and I came in, and that's actually how I ended up here. Now I didn't move. My parents moved from down on 10th Street in that area to 48th, and that's how my sister ended up going to school here. So I was actually, when I came home, was in the district. So I didn't know anything about this place. You know what I mean?
Right.
I knew nothing about it other than my sister went here.
Okay.
And when I came up here, I'm you observe it, and I'm thinking that it was at that time I'm coming out of the 60s, so I'm thinking, okay, my dream since 8th grade, 7th grade was to help my people, and when I came up here and saw the percentage of the people here, students here, were black, I said, oh, maybe this is the place I need to be. So fit in right well, and that's how that started.
Okay, well, nice. So I always heard the name the legendary Chop when I played against you in high school. Just over the last 40 decades, people calling you Chop. So where did the nickname Chop come from?
That's an original question.
Okay, yeah.
I coached football. I came in as a football coach and assistant basketball coach.
Okay.
And when I came in, one of the drills that I had to really work on the kids with in football was moving those feet. Chop your feet, chop your feet. So
there you go.
everywhere they had to go, they had to chop their feet until it was in their dreams. So and then from there, they just took off with it.
Chop your feet, because I say it all the time. What about football?
Is that right? Okay.
Get your feet moving.
That's right.
Just about everybody knows about your state championships, your state titles, and the legacy that you've built in basketball. But not many folks know about your past background. And so let's go back to the early years of when you were just Varryl Franklin. So where are you originally from?
I'm from Oklahoma City. I'm an East Side boy.
East Side, okay.
Yeah, and I mean, going from 2nd Street to 10th Street, I'm there. I came up in that area and quite proud of it. Even at that time, didn't come from a family, with just hard-working family, and didn't really know poverty, and had so much love there that I really didn't know. Black, as Nicky Giovanni said, black love is black wealth, And that was primarily where what stemmed me and nurtured me was the love of my family.
I know you played sports. So
Yeah.
what type of sports did you play coming up? Football, basketball,
Oh,
or how did it work?
I played.
Baseball?
Listen, that's another whole story. Played a lot of sports, 2 different sports, baseball and basketball when I was little, starting in the 4th, 5th grade.
Okay.
We started off in that action.
Yeah.
And then when I got to middle school, messed around here and got interested in music.
Okay.
And really got off into that really tough, vocal and instrumental.
Can you sing? Can you sing?
Yeah, well, I'm supposed to be, but I'm not going to try it now because my voice is gone.
After
all the screaming and hollering, I can't sing. Yeah. Was off into that really tough. And I wanted to get into football.
Okay.
But my dad took me down there, and I would be remiss if I didn't say he was a football person.
Okay.
All right. He captain of Douglas High School in 1943. They won a state championship and 2-time All-Stater.
Nice.
He was a good athlete. He was good. But anyway, he took me down to 4th Street trying to get on what we called then the Mighty Mites.
Okay.
Yeah, our football team. And they said I was too big.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, so without moving up. Yeah, okay. So I couldn't do that. That hurt me. That really hurt me. Okay. So I just took off in the direction of music and basketball and baseball. And then got caught up in the music thing. Ancio Francisco, I don't know if you know the Franciscos, but they got hung. He got me hung up in there and got me into music. And I kind of dodged athletics, period.
Okay.
During that middle school year until I got in the 10th grade. And then when I got in 10th grade, I went into football. I'd really gotten too big, too much talent at Douglas. So many brothers was at Douglas then. You had a few at Northeast, a few at Central, a few at Dungy, but Douglas was just crowded with basketball players. So I didn't even try to mess with that. However, I did. I loved the game so much that I had go in there and watch them practice and go to games and, just kind of get repetitions, I guess, just by the love of the game, just watching it. And God forbid, my dad, and that's why he's probably my hero. Mm-hmm. We would sit down on Sundays on a little black and white TV. We had just gotten a TV. And we would sit down and we would watch the Lakers and Boston Celtics. I'm talking about the old school. I'm talking about, going way with Bill Russell and the whole bit. So we sit down and watch that, and he would discuss that with me, and we would talk. And I had some really, really good fundamental coaches in elementary school, going up into the 6th grade. Raymond Mitchell and Lee Morris were the coaches then, and they were really sound. And we played against the best in the city that would later on become stars at Douglas.
Okay.
We played against, and so with all that background and me wanting to some kind of way find a niche to work with my people, you know, I chose coaching.
Okay.
I got a family of preachers going 4 or 5 generations.
Okay.
So I said, either I'm a preacher or I'm a teach. You know, I'm going to do one of the two. So the Lord didn't call me to preach, so let me head right on over to education.
Well, now you coaching that, you could do both of them.
But it is. Now, you got that. That's what you'll find out later. You'll find that out. That's a calling. And so we went from there, and then at Douglas, started my junior year with football, and played with some great ones. Raymond Hamilton played pros with the Patriots, and Albert Chandler played with the Patriots, and he went on. Raymond Sugarberry Hamilton went on and coached in the NFL for about 15 years, assistant coach. So we were around some really, really good athletes at that time, and from there, you know, went on to college, and from there went on in coaching.
Gotcha. So you mentioned your dad being your hero. So that was one of the questions I was going to ask. Is you have so he was one of those guys that you know played a big role in your life and just kind of just.
Oh yeah.
So tell me about a little bit about him.
Well, let me tell you, he was the one that kind of kept me in that. If I had not had him, I don't know where I'd be right now, because I was, you know, he worked with the fire department, one of the first 12 to integrate. The fire department, and later on became fire chief and district chief and first black chief, and on and on.
Wow, yeah.
But he was a great man,
Okay.
He was, you know, not only a great father, but he was 6'3", about 220.
Okay.
So you wasn't no playing around. And he was home every other day at that time. The fire department, you work every other day.
Okay.
And my mother was a very ultra religious person. She was a God-fearing woman and a great woman. And in education, she was in education.
Okay.
And so he, you know, what time he had, he spent. But he was the kind of man that the days that he was off, he worked, you know. And that's kind of where I get that work ethic here. Now, not now that I'm retired, but as I was coming through education, we worked. Yeah. We believe in work, you know, and some of the kids would cry. I remember once asking, I want to know if I was on the right track. I asked Coach Cudjoe, who was head coach of Douglas at the time, Lawrence Cudjoe, Cal Cudjoe's dad, and Kendall Cudjoe's dad. And I asked him, I said, can you give me any pointers in coaching this thing? He said, Coach, just run the dog mess out of him. Just run them to that.
Come on, chop them feet.
That's all I need to know, you know. And so that became a main part of it. But you know, you get into those situations, and particularly with your dad, that they laid a foundation for you. Your mother laid the foundation for me in my faith, and he did too, because he, you know, later on became a longtime deacon and trustee at Emmanuel Baptist Church, and we grew up at 5th Street Baptist Church, and my great-great-grandfather was one of the founders of that church, and he was a minister, and so we just go on and on. There's just so much linkage there. As you go on and you reflect and meditate on things, you find out that there has to be a lot of divine intervention being done.
As you're getting older, you go through middle school, and you said you know getting into high school. So how were the grades structured? Did it go up to ninth? No, so did junior high go up to ninth grade?
Junior high went from 7th to 9th.
And then
high school 10 to 12.
10 to 11. Okay.
Now it's interesting to the point that, can you imagine if you had all of African-American students, let's say 80 or 70% of them at Douglas High School are in one middle school.
Oh, man.
Yeah, and it was it was a mess, boy. It was a mess, man. But it was competitive. You had great friends that you may have had ever since elementary school, and that you even went to church with, that you grew up in church with. So it was I miss the East Side. I really do. And sometimes my wife and my sisters and everybody, even Coach Franklin, laugh at me because I have to ride through the east side. You know what I'm talking about? I'm going downtown, but I have to come through 2nd Street, 4th Street, you know. Such great memories. Great memories.
Make that little detour. I got you. So you became a football star at Douglas.
Yeah. Well, I started. Yeah, I started for 2 or 3 years. Remember, I'm a late bloomer.
Okay.
Everybody else had played more years than I had. I was a late bloomer, and I was under Coach Donald Burns, who was killed in the Merrill building.
Oh, okay.
Was the head coach at that time. I developed there. I was introduced to it, and I came along pretty quickly. Well enough to earn scholarships.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Tell me some of the. You ultimately committed to Lincoln University.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what were some of the other schools that were interested in you?
Most of them were like smaller schools, HBCU schools, and yes, he tried to get me with Raymond and Albert Chandler, Raymond Hamilton, Albert Chandler, and 2 or 3 of Robert Hubbard, who's here in the city and coaches and at Douglas. Tried to get several of us at OU in a package deal.
Okay.
But OU didn't want to go for it. They said they took a couple of us. Rest of us took off the other way. Yeah. Took off the other way. Yeah. So yeah, Bishop College, places like Bishop, Virginia Union, and instrumentally. I was even enticed to deal with Princeton University.
Okay.
But not because I had the grades, but at that time, affirmative action was coming into view.
Okay.
And they wanted to include more African-American males.
Interesting. So did they contact you?
Yeah.
Okay.
They sent me information and wanted me to, and because I had 2 sisters behind me, Melvin and Avis. Avis was 7 years behind me. I said, my parents can't stand to send me to New York if they're not going to pay the whole thing,
Exactly.
Yeah, and so I said, and being, again, in the 60s, I was really looking forward to going to a HBU school.
Okay.
And so Lincoln University came, Dwight D. Reed came and offered a scholarship, and I decided to take it. It was just far enough from home, but yet close enough that my parents could come and watch some games.
Okay. And where's that located? Jefferson
City, Missouri.
Yes,
Yeah,
right.
Jefferson City, Missouri. 30 miles from Columbia, Missouri, Mizzou.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So can you tell me back in when you played in high school, are there any memorable games or memorable moments that you had that you could share with us? Yeah,
there were probably a couple that I could think of right offhand. One was against Midwest City Bombers, undefeated, great ball club. I think they'd won 2 or 3 or played in 2 or 3 state championships. They were great. And we went out there, and at that time, again, in the 60s, the guys at the black glove thing, holding up the fist. We came out the dressing room. Yeah, we come out the dressing room. We got a black thing going on. They killed us, boy. I can't say.
Y'all took the gloves off?
Yeah.
Man.
Oh, hey. When we got back in there, Coach Burns said, all right, everybody, drop them pants. He took that tube out and went to work on us.
Man.
Yeah, I mean, hey, man, that's the way it was back then, So we learned a lesson there. We learned a lesson. The other was at playing Booker T. That was our rivalry.
Yeah.
And we went up to Booker T. Washington. We played in Old Carver Stadium. I don't know if you've ever been. It's a middle school stadium now.
Okay.
And you'd be playing. The fans are right on top of you.
So Booker T was the biggest rival?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, Booker T was for 100 years.
Okay.
Same fight song, same colors, everything.
Yeah.
Okay. And so we were playing, and the score was tied. We were battling now, and the score was tied, and looked up, and all of a sudden my quarterback got hurt. Alfonso Post, who was played at Langston and did a lot of great officiating here, got hurt for us. He was our quarterback, and we brought another quarterback in, Derek Forshee, and all of a sudden we had our backs against the wall, and all of a sudden a fight breaks out. And
on the field or on the stands?
No, on the sideline.
On the sideline, okay.
Yeah, on the sideline, and that was nothing. That was all the time.
Okay.
And the lady, Miss right here, and They had to stop the game because it was so close. They had to stop the game. The lady had cut the man out of his shirt, and cussing and acting a fool. Hey, you got to learn how to play under those situations.
Yeah,
The crowd going crazy, and the referees are saying, "Come on, we're gonna play anyway. We're gonna play this thing." And we ended up losing by a touchdown. Kid got sacked, but the reason I look at that because I had to bring that to Millwood.
Okay.
I don't care if what's going on around you.
Yeah.
You got to play. You got to stay focused and learn how to play under all kinds of conditions. And it paid off for us in the long run. Yeah, it paid off for us in both sports.
What was the culture like as far as, you mentioned a bit of it, how the playing conditions and stuff like that, but as far as your teammates, like your teammates, how was the culture with your team, the bonds that you built? How was that for you?
It was really, really, we were really, really close, and we had a lot of fun. Now we got kicked pretty good because at that time, Douglas was transitioning from the Ben Hart days.
Okay. Yeah.
Going from 3A, really going from integration, and I wasn't in that part. There was still some years away between it until that time, and we were behind. Our program was behind Midwest City, Enid, those people. They had weight programs, and they had really developed. We had a hard time. We had a hard time adjusting, and we got caught right in the middle of that.
Okay.
And so we took a beating, but at the same time, we had a lot of fun. We learned how to work hard.
Yeah.
Even to this day, we would tease each other, and in fact, there were days when another thing that I learned from that, I think we went 2-8, I believe, one year, our senior year, I believe. And we had a pretty good ball club, but we just couldn't put it all together.
Yeah.
We got kicked pretty good, but before the ball game, we would lay down on mats before the game, and we would sit up and be playing and acting a fool, just playing with it. And supposed to be taking a nap or resting or getting focused. Yeah, so it was a time that we learned, and I learned from it. And as a result of our days at Millwood, when we would pregame action, I would really harp on them about being focused. Get your mind focused on what you have to do. We would have team meetings before the football game, and same thing with basketball. Yeah. We would have team meetings. We would go through, you know how it goes. We would go through everything, game preparation, and so when we came out, they were focused. They were really focused at Millwood, and I would like to think that helped our program mature that much quickly.
Absolutely.
Remember now, Millwood started in the 70s, and Millwood High School started in the 70s, and I came in 73, right? And we were in high school competition then, went to state championships. Didn't win them all, but it was because we were so young, just didn't know how to handle that situation.
So rewind a little bit. You said, what was your pregame ritual in high school, and then when we get to college, we'll talk about your college. You can talk about both of them.
In high school, in high school, my thing was get focused on what I had to do because I was playing right tackle.
Right tackle.
And I'd probably have to end up playing some defense, and you were playing some against some of the best linemen that eventually go to OU and Old State in the state of Oklahoma.
Okay.
And not only that, but you have to play against Booker T. The only time you would get a break, and I'm not trying to, with all due respect, only time we get a break was like Dungy, Old Morgan, Dunbar, somebody like that. We get a break then, but rest of the time we were in the mid-state conference, so that was all the larger schools in the state of Oklahoma in this part. And so my thing was I had to really focus. I had to really focus because I was behind. As far as playing the game is concerned.
I'm gonna ask you this.
Sure.
So, in one point in time, was there any point in time in the game where there was a guy in front of you and you just like, man, I can't beat this dude?
Hey, on offense, I was in pretty good shape. I could handle myself on offense as an offensive lineman. The problem came when I had to play defense, and I played against Big John Walker at Booker T. Washington and Reuben Gant. I don't know if you remember. You probably don't remember. Probably too young. He was a tight end. And he went to the pros. And Big John was then about 270, 260, and Reuben Gant was tight end, about 6'5", but 220. And at that time, running off tackle was the thing. Tackle got hurt.
So you were tackle?
Yes,
okay.
I was a defensive tackle and odd man front.
Okay, yep.
And so, the big deal, the blocking scheme then was double team the tackle, kick out the end.
Yep.
Yeah. And boy, they wore me out every time. Winesberry and running backs back then, great running backs. And they rip off about 15 yards. They kicked us pretty good. They had a pretty
How many times did you beat Booker T?
During my time, we didn't beat them any.
Never got them?
They won 7 straight straight state championships. They beat Midwest City. They had Coach Ed Lacey.
Okay.
Great coach. I mean, he was outstanding.
Had them going, huh?
Yeah, man. He had them rolling then. And so, but the year after I left, I think we established a thing where that class after that beat Douglas.
Okay.
That following year. That's Victor Carruthers and that crew.
Okay.
And they did a pretty good job fighting with them.
And so now you finished your high school career. You have a scholarship to Lincoln University in Jefferson City, Missouri. How was that transition for you from high school to college?
First of all, it was the maturity level of it. Being away from home, East Side kid. Now, even though my dad was on me and he kept a steady hand on me, he knew I was buck wild. He knew I was right there on that edge,
You couldn't wait to get out there.
either way, so that's why he had to keep a hammer. One reason why I had to keep a hammer.
Okay.
So when I got up there, a freshman, away from home, HBCU. Oh man, I was pretty loose there for a minute.
Okay.
And as I got along, one of the things that I really stayed true to was keeping my faith. I had to really fight to keep that going. And then, of course, I wanted to get out again. I wanted to help my people, and that motivated me to take care of business, get out of there where I could go do those things, you know.
Right.
And sports was a platform for me to do that.
Can you recall a memorable game in college that you?
Oh Lord, yes. Yeah. Two or three of them throughout 3 years.
Okay,
2 or 3 every year. One was we went to Ittabita, Mississippi. We played Alcorn.
Is that a city? Ittabita?
Yeah, Ittabita, Mississippi. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Alcorn University, and they
that's
were
where okay.
Yeah, they were Alcorn and Mississippi Valley State.
Okay,
I might have those confused.
Okay,
but we went there, and they gave us we had a really, really good team. We went about 8-2 or 9-1 or something like that. And they gave us a good spanking. But that boy gave me, because I hadn't been used to it, the old, and SWAC was the old head slap.
Okay.
It was legal then.
You can get away with it, yeah.
And that brother comes swinging off that end, and I'm setting up to block him in pass situation, and he just slapped me upside the head, and instead of me jabbing him, I was ducking, and he'd run right by me. He had a lot of speed, his brothers, and you're down there. And,
was your ears ringing?
No, they didn't. No, it was just a threat of ducking, and he's so fast, He wasn't really hitting you that hard. I mean, he was about maybe 215, 220, something like that. He was a stand-up end and playing fast technique.
So were you still playing right tackle?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
I started at Lincoln. I started my freshman year.
Okay.
I think in 4 years, I missed one game. Coach said I'd gotten too damn big. I think I was about 280.
Okay.
Went from about 230 to 280.
Oh, man.
And so he said, you too big, Franklin. You got to lose some weight. So anyway, I didn't play a good game that first game because it was about like 110 down there, and the humidity was about 80. I think I lost about 20 pounds
you lose that
one
game.
Yeah, And so he flew by me. And then the other one was when we played homeboys up here. LU, Langston,
the homeboy,
and Princeton, Princeton Poindexter.
Yeah, Poindexter.
And that crew, yeah. And so Henderson and all those guys, Payne and all those guys I knew of, and came up and played them. And we had a guy named Lamar Parrish who played for the Cincinnati Bengals. That was all-pro cornerback, but he was our running back back then, and from Florida. They were ahead. We were getting ready to take the lead, and they called a quick pitch. And on the quick pitch, I had to pull in front of him. and went out there, and he made the wrong cut. I was trying to kick the boy out, and he was running outside. He had 4.3 speed, and he was going to stay outside, and the guy made the tackle at the goal line, and Langston won it, you know. And then when they came to us, I went up there to talk to my homeboys and went up there to holler at them, you know, at the hotel while they were there, and burned me up. Poindexter was laying down, and, you know, he was a hell of a quarterback. He could chunk that rock, man. And they asked him, Point, what you going to do? How many you going to throw on him? And he was out there sleeping. He just held his hand up 4. I mean, dadgum, that boy didn't throw 4 touchdowns. Hey, he was a tough boy. So it was a good rivalry between them, you know. And, those games, 2 or 3 of the games that I really remember, you know,
Were there any major setbacks in like, or injuries or anything like that?
No. I've never been injured in football. I've been blessed. Wow. I've never been injured in football, and we worked. You know, there was still old school. Dwight T. Reed had been there for about 20, 25 years. Outstanding coach, but he was old school.
Okay.
And so we worked, man. I mean, it could be hot as all get out, and we'd be on that hill running, and then we'd be out there 3 or 4 hours practicing.
Yeah.
So no, I was fortunate enough that I was never injured, never missed, other than that one time I told you that was a little overweight, and he was just upset with me for coming in not in shape. And that one game that I missed, but the rest of the time, I really enjoyed my experience there. I often think, why would the Lord take me through that? You know, because I think I could have done some better things, and you know, but HBCU prepares you for life.
Okay.
If you can get through an HBCU school and take care of your business, you shouldn't have any problems making it. You know, to be quite honest with you. And, the showers were cold, the bathrooms might not work, it might get cold, because, man, in Missouri, it can get cold.
I'll bet.
Yeah, and you got to climb 100 and 200 steps back and forth, the ROTC, and, you know, it's just a whole lot of challenges in front of you that you have to deal with. A lot of football players came from the South, Mississippi, Georgia, Alabama.
Okay.
Then you had people coming from Chicago, St. Louis, as far as Los Angeles. You know, and so you just got a good mixture of cultures, and you really had to be strong-minded, strong-willed to make it.
So speaking of strong-willed, then, so were there any, I mean, I would imagine there was some racial disparities, racial tensions, and did you encounter any of that while you were, like, traveling to different games? Or
No.
Not much?
No, not really.
So did y'all just play mostly HBCUs?
At that time, we played 3 or 4, but Lincoln was just going into the Missouri Valley Conference. Okay, which is now a big-time conference for Division II schools, you know. Yeah. So we played Northwest Missouri, Rolla, Missouri, you know, those kind of schools, and then we'd play black schools, HBCU, Kentucky State, Alcorn, Langston, Arkansas Pine Bluff was another one we would play, and so we had I got caught right there in the middle when they started trying to integrate. You got to remember, too, that I don't know if you're aware of it, but Lincoln University is 60%. You say HBCU, but 60% of Lincoln University was white.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the only thing is at 5 o'clock, they were gone. And the campus belonged to, you know. Yeah, so now it's a little different now. It's just about the other way around.
Okay. Okay.
But so, no, we didn't really run into any kind of racial things. If it was traveling back and forth through there. When you got on that bus, you might run into some problems, you know. But no, we never did run into it. Unfortunately, no.
That's good. Now, where did basketball come in? Did you play basketball in
No.
You didn't play basketball in high school?
Didn't play any basketball.
Because you're too big?
The only basketball we played was on the streets, and the blacktop, and you know, obviously intramural, you know, played there and that kind of thing. But my interest, we had an outstanding coach. I've been around some really, really good basketball coaches. And one of them was Coach Corbin, who at North Carolina A&T, they have a North Carolina Central, they have a stadium named after him, basketball gymnasium. And he was a great, great coach. And so I would go in and just watch them practice. Yeah. and talk with them. So again, I came into a situation where I was fortunate enough when I got to Millwood to be hired, work for Dub Raper, the late Dub Raper, who was an outstanding basketball coach, and Eddie Evans, who many people have forgotten about. Douglas graduate, played at OU in the 60s, I believe.
Okay.
And he's an outstanding coach. And I was able to be under them and was tutored by them, mentored by them. And when everybody else was out playing golf or whatever, I was in the film room at clinics, talking with coaches. One of the things that working with Dub Raper, after every Saturday morning after a game, it was customary that all the basketball coaches would meet up at Denny's and talk basketball. Okay. And that was an experience. You get to talk with them, you get to trade secrets, you get the whole gambit. So when everybody else was out having fun and doing things, I had to play catch up. Yeah. I had to really study. I had to really watch tape and videos and that kind of thing to
become a student of the game.
To compete. To try to get kids to compete.
I guess so. Now that you've graduated college, what was your degree in? What did you study?
Social science with emphasis in sociology and a minor in history.
Okay. Is that what you taught? Did you?
Man, I taught everything.
You taught everything?
I taught everything. Yeah. When I was first hired, they had me teaching English. What?
Okay.
But I did it, went on and had to push a little cart around. I didn't even have a classroom. Had to the class, so.
You was a mobile teacher.
Nah, thank you. Yeah, Social studies, history, Black history, humanities, economics, financial literacy. I taught it all. World history, United States history, Oklahoma history.
Everything.
Yeah. I taught it all.
Leotis Robinson, he gave you your first break as hired as a coach at Millwood. So tell me about coaching with him. What kind of your first?
It was a joy. We became like brothers. He was like a big brother to me because he was several years older than I.
Okay, how many years older? Because
maybe about 5 or 6.
Okay,
something like that. Maybe 7. When we weren't on the field, we were still hanging.
Okay,
with each other, and so it was a joy. A man of faith. I had a wonderful family, and he was honest, and of course he did his time in the service, so he had a lot of discipline. Yeah. But he was a great man. I couldn't have found a better mentor at that age to come to work for.
Yeah, he was a good guy. You've coached over 40. It was the 45 years that you've been
45.
45. Okay, so over 4 decades of basketball. I'm barely 4 decades old. I'm almost 5 decades. But you've so like it's very rare that you find that in just staying in one school. And did you ever have opportunities to go and coach anywhere else or coach college or next level? Any of those?
I really had no. I loved it where I was.
Yeah. Okay.
I really did. And you had a couple of people come. Stott Spencer, came and a couple of colleges assistant. I worked with Eddie Evans, and he was an assistant basketball coach at a major college, and we sat down and we were talking. He always said, I didn't like it because all they wanted to do was send me out to recruit. I could never just coach, and that kind of thing. And I'm not a real traveling person.
Okay.
I'm kind of homebody.
Yeah.
So that kind of turned me off right there from wanting to go into college. But Leotis wanted me to come with him. We were so close, and we worked well together. And we looked at some other jobs, high school jobs, and he took off to Booker T, and he was asking if I wanted to come. And no, and go down to Texas. He went down there, and no, I didn't want to. I wasn't particular about that either. Yeah. I was quite happy where I was.
I got you.
You got athletes. They are good people. They have good parents. At that time, and I'm not saying it's not that way now, but had great administrators that were very supportive, and I was having success. So I was happy here.
So when was the first state title? So When did you become head coach?
I became a head coach in 79.
79, okay. And the first state title was when?
79.
79, first year coaching. Okay. How many did you have, like, any back-to-back or?
From 79 to 81.
To 81?
Because Eddie won 78.
Okay.
And then he left, and then I came in 79.
79.
So Millwood ended up winning 4 in a row. That's what we won, 4 in a row.
I got you.
And I won the next 3. And then we skipped a year and went and played in the finals 1 or 2 years, and then came back and won some more. So
okay.
Yeah, it was.
Tell me some of the, or maybe 1 or 2 of the biggest struggles that you faced. Just 1 or 2. I know you got a bunch.
Yeah, really. You got that right. Now I'm trying to keep it there.
Yeah.
If I can think of that, because it looked like every year was a struggle. Started, but then trying to feed this monster was a whole different story.
Okay.
And you lose 1 or 2 kids. I had an assistant coach that took another head job, and he took the whole daggum middle school with him.
Okay.
Well, not the whole school.
Yeah.
2 or 3 stars with him, and we struggled.
Okay.
We did. We really struggled, and but we won. But we just struggled. We wasn't reigning like we were, and so that was some time. But other than that, I've never, and that wasn't a struggle. It was just, you knew that you would have to do some show enough coaching,
Yeah.
And but I was fortunate enough, because of the great coaching staffs, and one other thing, playing in the All-City Conference. John Marshall, Grant, Southeast, Dot Spencer, Douglas, You had to be ready when you came out of there. Then you hit 3A. Oh, yeah, you had to be ready. Yeah, So our record was not always sparkling anyway.
Okay.
If we had won 20 games, we really had a good ball club.
Right.
Most of the time, we were just above 500 when we hit the playoffs.
Okay.
And then we'd ring on for a state championship, at least get to the finals.
Yeah, I saw one of the records of one of the couple of your seasons that you won it.
Yeah, right.
And I mean, it was 17 and 15,
yeah, right.
and
kind
of in the middle.
That's right. Yeah,
and you pulled it off.
But all of this conference in Greene County, All-City Conference in Oklahoma City, Greene County, and Tulsa were winning all the state championships, basically.
Okay.
And so you had 2 or 3 schools in one conference that could win a state championship in every class. So that prepared us, man. And then athletes and being tough, and then establishing a culture here that we're going to work hard, that we're going to really get after you on defense, and then having some outstanding assistant coaches really helped us. And because remember now, Millwood in football, we don't get off the field until December. If we had a really good year. And most years we did, so I would come in late. And I would come in, but I wasn't really with my group. What we had to make up ground was during the Christmas break. Okay. And that's where we kind of had to get busy.
So during those times where you had those struggles, was there ever a time where you thought, I'm just going to hang this whistle up, I'm done with this? Never?
Never. I'm not a quitter.
Yeah.
Never have been, never will be.
Nothing ever got you down so much where it could just...
No, it got me down. Now, I mean, you hurt. And there's sometimes that, and I noticed one of the things you asked about Coach Spears, that's where she was really like a sister. Yeah. Is that she'd come in, and if you know Coach Spears, you know that she's a fighter. Oh yeah. And she would say, Franklin, I don't know why you worried about it, why you even toe up about it. They'd get it together and whoop the whoop. She'd go off in left field on me, and I just walk right on and say, thank you, Coach. And I'd go on, but you had some down times. You really did, but they weren't really. It was just a part of the game, because I'm always looking ahead. One of the things that I try to tell Coach Franklin, my son, is the man, enjoy every minute that you're coaching. That's where I messed up. Okay. To be quite honest with you. And we'll win a state championship, I wouldn't even celebrate. I'm getting ready for the following year. For next year. I'm thinking the next time. And that happens so many years, and then you look back and say, I don't remember this. How did I feel? Yeah. And I think it's just one time that I felt like I can remember. There was really a memory. Was in class of, I think it was Terry Evans now, Hopgood, that crew. Yeah. And we were so confident. when we went into that state championship game, we were such a we didn't lose but one game the whole year, and we were ranked in the nation.
Okay, yeah.
And so, and they were playing music, and I never felt so much calm in all my life and peace, that we would go out here and take care of it. And they did. They went out there. But, yeah, you don't – I never really – I don't remember. Now, I might go home and sleep tonight and think up something. But
that one time.
Yeah.
So we mentioned Coach Spears. So coaching with her – so she was kind of your hype man. So
she was there when I needed to talk.
Hype woman.
Yeah. When I needed to talk, because she would be having her times too, and I would, we would talk. We just talk things out, waiting for the kids to leave. Yeah, and we would just talk things out. And but she's always been like a sister for me. But she also helped. She was athletic director. For years. And she also got me out of a lot of trouble. Not trouble, but when I needed some money and some new uniforms or something, she was there. She was on point. And so she's always been really, really supportive of the things that I did. And if it not had been for her, the whole thing, especially the girls program, but the whole thing probably would have been a little shaky if it had not been for Arnelia.
You coached hundreds of athletes during your coaching career. And so I'm gonna give you an attribute of any other athletes. I'm gonna give you an attribute of an athlete, and I want you to name the first person that comes to mind.
You make it hard.
You can take your time. But so I'm gonna just name some. And the first person to come to your mind, just let it go.
Mad.
Let it go. Hey, we got to deal with it. Who was the tallest?
Brian Hopgood, there's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
He's
How tall was he?
16. 16,
Okay.
30 to 20.
All right. Who was the comedian? First person you think of.
Lord.
Comedian.
I can't think of anybody that was, because if they were, they weren't around me. Keisha Watson's little brother. I can't think of his name. Trey.
Okay.
Trey was a clown, boy. He made me so mad sometimes, but he was a clown. He was a good kid. He'd stop by and talk every day and clowning. But when he took ball seriously, he did. He really did.
Who was quick as a cat?
Oh, Kelly Henderson.
Henderson.
Probably quicker than him was probably Michael Parks.
Okay.
Played with Terry.
Okay.
He's probably one of the better, and I want to say better athletes, period, to come through this school, and nobody really knows about him.
Really? Okay.
He could play every sport. He could play anything. He could play anything and be exceptional at it.
Who was strong as an ox?
Oh, boy, we had a bunch of them. We had a bunch of football players that played basketball.
One I remember is Mandrell Dean.
Probably Mickey, Joey.
Oh, yeah.
Joey and Mickey.
Yeah.
We played Star Spencer, and they had that great ball player that played at Oklahoma State. That was a great rebounder. And he was trying to cover somebody. Anyway, Mickey set a pick on him, and he was out the game. Yeah, he's about 225. He played at OU, played for the Dallas Cowboys, and Mickey was a horse. But I had two or three of them: Russell Allen, Gary Lewis, David Campbell. All those guys were football players that played basketball for us, that played inside.
The enforcers.
Okay, you got that right.
Okay. So who could jump out the gym?
Whole lot of them. Probably the one everybody knows about is Mandrell Dean.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, because he broke that backboard in 8th grade.
Yeah.
But you had the Cluises, both of them, Paul Cluis and his brother.
I remember Sean Cluis. Sean Cluis was one of them?
Yeah, Sean Cluis was one of them. They could jump out the gym. Chris Dixon, he just went into Morehouse College Hall of Fame in basketball.
Okay. Who was always late?
Nobody. Because they know what would happen. They know. They either get put out or they get run out of here.
Right. There you go. Who was one of those ones that would be a future coach?
David Hamilton.
Okay, I know that.
Yeah.
Hamilton.
David Hamilton. Yeah, he played for him in the 9th grade. As a starter, he didn't start, but he played. He was 6th man, and then eventually became a starter. Okay. And that year, senior year, I think it was his senior year, he beat Star Spencer by himself, scored something like over 20 points. Okay. Fouled everybody out. He's just a smart kid. Smart kid. Coach's son.
Who was always in trouble?
I don't think I had
no troublemakers.
Too many, because they know what was up. They knew what would come down. I didn't have that.
At least they were good on the court in the basketball.
Yeah,
arena,
yeah. Well, the thing is, and I learned this from Tommy, Coach Griffin.
Yeah, that's my coach. Yeah.
And he said that one of the things that he did was to counsel his players at least once a week or something like that. Yeah. But he tried to keep constant communication with them.
Right.
And I did that too. Okay. I tried to cut off things before they really occurred. And we had one or two scrapes here in the gym, but it's usually in the gym.
Okay.
And but we kind of got that straightened out. But
so who would you consider probably a ladies' man? Who was always trying to get the girls?
And I had too many of them. I had too many of them. He's playing overseas right now, and he's averaging over 20 points
right now.
But I had several of them. I can't. And again, it wouldn't get back to me. Right. It's what I could observe. As I'm in the school or whatever. But I didn't have to
be on. You was just on this girl.
Yeah, right.
You on this other girl. Yeah. What about the teacher's pet? One of those that was always sucking up to the teacher's brain.
I had several of those too, but I can't. None that I can really just put a finger on this one. But Chris Nixon would probably be one of them.
All right. So who do you remember as being the loudest? You probably had. Over 40 years of athlete.
Yeah, really.
45 years.
We got a bunch. One of my problems was getting people to talk.
Okay.
On the court.
Okay.
And nobody really just kind of stood out to you. Trey was one of those that he didn't care. He was going to talk on the court, but that was a big thing that we really had to really fight with, was developing leadership and getting those to talk on defense. And I mean loud. Because you're gonna play in the big house, and it gets loud up in there. So we had some, but that was something that we really had to work on.
What about your hardest worker?
Probably Hamilton.
Okay.
Probably him, because he was my defensive stopper.
What about your best rebounder?
Probably Hop.
Hop good.
And if I go back further than that, I was an assistant, probably Big Frank Moore. I think for a while there, he held the rebounding record in the big house.
Best shooter?
Oh, I saw that one. Adam Hawkins, Jerome Carter, Kelly Henderson. And Swindle.
Terry
probably Tremaine Swindle.
Okay.
And there were others. And Terry. Terry might have been the first or second best one.
Last one is the best vision. Who dropped the dimes?
I couldn't get enough of that. I shouldn't name anybody.
Yeah, okay.
Probably Freddie Moore, Horace Moore, Michael Parks, Stephen Joseph, Pancho. Those guys were pretty good assists.
Good. Well, all right. Let's. So I'm sure you're able to, see your son, Darwin, coach multiple seasons now, and he's done a great job with the football program. Yeah. And so when you watch him coach, what's it like watching him coach? And do you see all of the things that or at least some of the things that you've instilled in him? Like, do you see yourself out there doing the same things?
Yeah, it's really hard watching him coach.
Okay.
It's really hard because I try to watch as a fan, but I end up watching every time as a coach,
Yeah.
And then I try to go in and try to slip something in them. Hey, man, you might need to try this. I said, Dad, shut up. There you go, acting like them armchair quarterbacks, just like the rest of them. So I have to be quiet. Yeah. But it's a joy. He's better than me.
Okay.
He is. He's much better. And all around. Because, first of all, he manages the game. He's excellent at managing the game.
Yeah.
He's excellent at developing relationships. He's good with that. And he's good at keeping a balance with family. I wasn't real good at that. Keeping a balance of family and his occupation, coaching. And he's good he's really, really good at those things. I must say, I'm not trying to brag, but I might be a little better than him with X and O's and that kind of thing. But he knows it. Yeah. But it's just that I spent so much time because I was defensive coordinator, and then I had to turn around and be assistant head coach in football.
Mm-hmm.
Then I had to turn around and coach the offensive line.
Yeah.
So I had to know strategies on both sides of the ball.
Right.
And but he knows it.
Yeah.
I just probably know it a little better than him because I had to deal with it a little bit more for 30-something years. Kind of proud of myself to a certain degree. Always keep it cool, because if you lose it, your kids may lose it. And he lost, but he got that from his mother.
Okay.
But he's lost it a couple of times, and he's
Okay.
gone off in left field. He is not afraid to challenge the officials.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's good, you know.
Yeah.
In
Well, it's
a
good to
sense,
have
that's
that
good.
still.
Yeah, you know. And so, but he doesn't go overboard with it.
Okay.
And he may come back and go off on those officials and then come back and apologize.
Right.
A minute later, you
Right.
know, and be honest about it, authentic about it. So
Mhm.
he keeps a good balance of those things. I'm quite
good.
proud of it.
What did it mean to you? You had the kids' lives in your hands, and basically whatever you said or however you acted, it impacted all of those kids.
It changed my life. It really did. I asked for this. I was called to do this, and so therefore, when I have these kids, when I had them, young men and young women in class, it's the same to me. Classroom, because coaching is nothing but a classroom. To me, it was teaching and relationships.
Yeah.
And so to develop those relationships mean that I had to hold myself at a certain standard.
Right.
And I tried to do that to the best of my ability. And so I wanted to make sure that first of all, that I did that. The other thing is that I had a platform, a wonderful platform, in which I could talk to kids and I could get them to introduce them to Jesus Christ, and those that I didn't have to introduce them to, which was most of them, I didn't have to. I could restore, refresh, inspire, motivate. I was able to do that, and many of them come back. The biggest joy, because you're not making any money. You know, the biggest joy is when those kids come back years later and introduce you to their kids,
their wives and kids,
and some of them their grandkids, and that messes me up too. And their grandkids, and talking to them, and ask me to talk with them, and that is really a blessing. That is really a blessing. But it's all because of my faith and what I tried to teach them.
Yeah, I was going to say, in your case, I mean, you've been coaching so long, you coach a group of kids, then you coach their kids, and then probably some grandkids.
Yeah, right.
So
And touch them.
Yeah, 4 generations.
Yeah,
of
right.
athletes.
Yeah, and it's fulfilling.
Yeah.
It really is. I used to tell D when he was coming up, Coach Franklin, I used to tell him, if I died tomorrow, I couldn't say a word. You know, I'd be happy. I've done the best that I could do, and I still think I have some more to do as long as he calls me to do it, and that's kind of why I'm here now. You know, that I just hope that people, and they just keep on keeping on. I met one of my players, and I'm giving him a shout out here. Down at Woo's Chicken, and he owns that. Yeah, but I was talking with him, and he was coaching his daughter. And I just told him, and he thanked me for it, and that was so touching. That meant more to me than anything.
Yeah. So, like we mentioned before, you've coached over 4 to 5 decades of just coaching. So, if me coming in as just a young coach trying to find my way, what 3 things would you tell a brand new head coach to do these 3 things, and you'll be all right?
Personally, have some faith.
Okay.
And get your faith together and be strong, because it's going to be very, very challenging. Make sure that you love the sport, that you love what you're doing. Yeah, that you basically, it's like you said earlier, like preaching. You know, it's almost a calling. If you aren't called to do it, you're probably not going to last very long.
No.
You know, you're going to find another avenue.
Yeah.
And so that would be the next thing. Make sure that you love it. And then the other thing is, make sure that if you get married or have a family, that you keep a balance between the two. Yeah, because you're going to need support. If you're really involved, you're really off into it, you're going to need family support.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So my last question for you, you know as well as any coach in the game, games are about momentum shifts. During your life or during your coaching career or during your life, period, what was the biggest momentum shift in your life?
In my life, it was probably my son,
Okay.
And the fact that he, he's my son, and I'm well pleased.
Yeah.
My beloved son, and that there are times when I felt like I neglected him for football and basketball, and he understood it.
Yeah.
And now he's going through it, and he certainly understands it. That nevertheless, that doesn't take away from me feeling like I should have spent more time with him as he was growing up. But he's turned out to be an excellent young man, and I am so proud of him. But that in itself changed me. Then to coach him, and then to see him coach is certainly a joy. And the way he coaches and the type of coach that he has become is certainly changed me. Now, as far as the sport is concerned, probably the time that we were playing for state championship, we were playing Hugo, and the game was tied, and they had the ball with 2 or 3 seconds on the clock, 5, 6, and the boy shot at the wrong goal.
The wrong goal. I remember that.
Yeah. And then I knew you can plan, as Proverbs, you can plan, you can have a plan, but the Lord will have the same last say so,
Right,
you know
exactly.
what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was, that those two things probably, in one arena and another, are the two things that influenced and changed my life the most.
I got you. Well, Coach, I certainly appreciate your time.
Well, thank you.
Thanks for making some time for me. And
Thank you for having me.
again, the legendary Chop is a name that everybody knows. And of course, we all appreciate what you've done in the community for the game, football and basketball, and just what you do for the athletes and the people around you. So we.
Thank you.
Definitely from everybody that's watching is going to watch this video.
All right.
I'm sure they'll say the same thing. And but I appreciate you just taking some time and sitting down with me.
Thank you for inviting me. It's been a pleasure.